Alright, so welcome to this video. Today I want to talk about something I consider my hobby. I have a couple of things that I consider a hobby. I don't expect to make money out of them, but it's something I do because it always brings me joy to some degree. And one of those things is 3D sculpting. I've been doing it since '98 when my first software was Bryce 3D. And then I went on to other pieces of software, 3D Studio Max, Soft Image, Maya. I went on to these early versions of software because I thought I was going to go ahead and go into 3D design in college. And I ended up not doing that. The market, the job marketplace for that seemed to be rather predatory and also very complicated, to the point where I didn't think I'd have a long lifespan in that field. But also, it seemed like it was a lot of stress for what it was. Not to say I don't know people who have gone on to be rather successful in 3D modeling and 3D rendering stuff, but they've gone into more of a technical aspect field of it than for what my very young self thinking I would go into making things like movies and video games and rendering artwork for. That being said, I've never lost my passion for it. I've actually gone on to do lots of sculpting in software and 3D modeling, but I just don't share it with anybody because it's something that I do on my side and something I do to stimulate myself or to practice when I just need to have like a little bit of drawing time. So, that being said, I use a lot of Zbrush software. Not so much specifically by Zbrush itself, but there are free versions of software out there. And so, with my new 3D printer out here, we're going to go ahead and start a new series of videos going into some software in order to sculpt. I'll make some videos. We'll sculpt some fun things. I'm going to try to do it as a high art sculpture sort of thing. So we're going to do some very nice, clean looking renders. I won't do anything that's pop culture, monsters, or anything like that, which I have a tendency to do because it's very fast and very easy to make little monsters. But I'll go over some of the software. In particular, there's a new piece of software out right now, and this is the one that's in the background right now. It's the Zbrush Core Mini software. It's been out for, I believe, since February of last year, 2021. And what they started doing was that instead of being ZBrush, where you'd end up paying, like, I think it was $600 for the software, or having a subscription fee of like, I think it was like $250 a year. They now have a free version, which is limited scope, but it's also like they're doing a tiered version of all of their softwares, which is awesome because somebody like myself who notices how fast a lot of these software changes are, or something I only use like once every 3 months or so, this right here is an excellent version of their software because I've always loved the tool usage, the adaptability and the cleanliness of design that comes out of ZBrush. But that's not to say that this software is the only one. Let's go over two other free versions of software that I'm also going to be doing in a series of videos. The first one is actually something made by Pixelogic? Pixelogic. And they ZBrush bought them out, and they threw their software up onto their website for the longest time. I think I got a copy of this in 2018 when I downloaded it and put it onto my computer, and I've used it a lot. In fact, I've even done videos of done a lot of videos of just me rendering sometimes in this software. This has a lot of the same tooling features. I don't get a lot of the chunkiness or a lot of random artifacts I would from other software. The downside is that there's no support for this. There's nothing ever growing with it. This software has been the same since 2015 when ZBrush bought the rights to this software. You can probably still find a copy of it online. I didn't last time when I downloaded ZBrush Core Mini, I did not find this on their website anymore. So you might, so if you can still find a copy of it, awesome. But I'll go over some of the videos with this because there's a difference in how these two pieces of software are done. It's still based upon a simple shape. The only difference is that the free version of ZBrush Core Mini, you're limited to one shape. It's either a circle or a cube. And from there, then you can sculpt. It does have some extrusion tools. They call them chisel tools. And it's usually based upon like an existing 3D shape or a tonal mass. And it just sort of multiplies it out on top of the surface there. It's not bad. It has its places, and it's kind of useful in a lot of situations, especially for the basic core shapes here, for building out more complex forms with one shape. Other ones are kind of silly because, I mean, there's only so many times where you can make a mouth and make it look like it's decent. But they do have those tools in here, so there's more here than there is with Sculptris. But I can use multiple shapes. And then from there, be able to sculpt one or both of those at the same time. So I can have a little bit more diversity, a little bit more complex shapes. I can select just one item or all of the items. But, you know, there's a lot that I can do, including with masks and things like that, that I don't really have the ability to do in the basic program of ZBrush. Now, the third piece of software, and now this one is one that I might use a whole bunch in the post-production phase of all my sculpting in this video series, is going to be Blender. Now, Blender is, it's free, but it's not just a sculpting program like ZBrush Core Mini or Sculptris or any of the other ZBrush type software out there. This one is actually more primarily a modeling software, but you can do some sculpting in it. Now, I will say this, it is very limited in what it can do for sculpting, so it's more for like just minor tweaks and touches. So for example, this square here, this cube, if I go into sculpting and I try to do anything with it, it doesn't add to the blocks or to the polygons here. Whereas if I go into ZBrush and I grab the clay building tool, which is just their brush where it just lets me block it all up. Right now it tells me that there are 39,000 active polygons here. And as I go, that number starts to jump as it starts to build out, and you can see all the little facets and the things that are building up. And I'm instantly up to 44,000 polygons to do the same thing that would normally be here. So, in a program like Sculptris or Blender, you would then you're only dealing with what you got. So let's just create a random shape. I'm just going to create a square, just a random circle, bring it up to about there. And if you notice, it has a certain amount of polygons. I can then subdivide that and then subdivide that so I get a certain amount. But when I go over here and I try to draw on this, let's move this over here so this is in the center, zoom in. When I take like the clay tool and I drag it across here, trying to bring that up, you notice the polygons here. They do not increase. They don't try to do anything different. This only is meant for like small minor adjustments, which is good if you need to just tweak something out that isn't working right. I know people who do a lot of work in Blender and this is all they do. And in fact, they even go back into modeling, and you can see that the amount of polygons has not changed. So the size of one is the size of the other. Come on. I think that's about the most I'll be able to subdivide. But, it's just the way that the software is. So this one is mainly meant, like I said, straight for modeling, but it also has composition software, good for rendering, a bunch of other little things. So this one right here is a good software to throw stuff into. There is going to be a fourth piece of software I'm going to show you guys how to incorporate like the ZBrush files into, and that might be Fusion 360. But that's just because I think I might be able to create some interesting bases and things like that to go along with my sculptures. So we're gonna go on an adventure with trying to do some high art sculptures in 3D modeling software that I'm gonna then print out, that I'm then gonna clean up, be able to make molds of, and then cast in various materials. And so while I can make 3D prints like this little guy right here that I did in Zbrush Core Mini, playing around with the software, starting with a little bit of a Boolean shape, and then proceeding to make its own. And then I printed this guy out on my 3D printer to dial in settings and see how much I can gain with a single print without losing detail. So this is about as small as I will go for this little guy right here. This one was intended to be a much larger piece, but we're going to do this video series. And hopefully you guys all have some fun. If you guys want to see something specific, if you guys want to see some interesting artwork come out of it, let me know. See if I can make some videos of it. And then from there, we'll just proceed to make these things in a progressive series. So what I'll do is I'm going to end this video, and then I'll do another video of just me sculpting in ZBrush. And so I'm going to see what I can make, how much I can push this software before it tries to resample me. And then try to see where we can go with it and try to make an interesting shape. Something that would be visually appealing for 3D printing, for making fine art sculptures, and then trying to make a series of it. So I will see you guys on the next video.